Good morning and welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and it's the 18th day of March 2025, and welcome to our show today. We're going to start out with Lawful Defense with John Tatar, and then at 10 o'clock, Shawn Starry is going to need more coffee, is going to be coming on, and we're going to be talking about home defense. Got a lot of ideas or thoughts coming on where the country is going right now, and I think we need to kind of get prepared a little bit. So how you doing this morning, John?
I'm doing well, as usual.
You got a song for us this morning?
Oh, no, today I don't, but I'll try to have one next week.
Okay, got inspired.
I'm working on, but things have gotten in the way.
Oh, I get that. I get that. We've been, all of us have been kind of busy here. So anyhow, well, what do we want to talk about today? We talked a little bit about it this morning, and I went over some economics. These people that are running this government are absolute. I can't even call them idiots because they're so diabolical. What's that?
They're criminals.
They're criminals. And you know what? They're not actually as dumb as they look, on the outside. The people that are in office, yeah, they're pretty dumb. They're controllable. I'll give you that. But the ones that are actually pulling the strings, they are criminally, insanely, diabolically smart about how they are money laundering out of this nation. Unless you're really paying attention, you're going to miss what they're doing. I've got a lawsuit that's going to be coming out here shortly, and I'm not going to talk about it right now. But when you find billions of dollars, and I'm not talking millions, I'm talking billions of dollars that they have manipulated away from the American people in Michigan, we have a big problem. And it's huge. And there's so many instances of this, it's not even funny. So what Doge is doing nationally, we need to bring this to the state of Michigan, because I'm still going to stick with it. I think that Michigan's the head of the snake. And there's many reasons for that. When you look at, at the size of Michigan, it's actually pretty small in area compared to a lot of the other states, right? But there is so many reasons why they would want to economically capture this state. The first of being our water. We've got so much water. You are always, I think it's no more than 7 miles away from a water source if you're in the state of Michigan. That's how close you are to water, fresh water. That doesn't just mean the Great Lakes, of course, that's inland. I mean, you can't be, 5 miles or 7 miles away from water inland without the independent sources of water away from the Great Lakes. So when we look at that, that's part of it, but there's more to it than that. And our DNR, lovely DNR, with the blessings of our legislature, has basically stolen from the people of Michigan for their own corruption, 4.6 million acres. I want everybody to think about this. And then they talk about all these projects that they're doing. Well, they're supposed to tell the legislature of Michigan what those projects are before they do that for approval. No, they just go ahead and tell them, we're doing this, and we're going to allocate this to this and this to this. That's not how it works. And I think that when you start looking at the audacity of these people in office to just basically, and I'm not even going to get the middle finger out there, but that's what they're doing to the American people. They are absolutely just trying to make us irrelevant. And they're doing it to a certain degree because people are not willing to step up and stop going along to get along. If either of the major parties were doing what they should be doing, we would see something that was throttling back what's happening to our government. But everybody's just throwing up their hands and saying, what do I do? And I did come up with the answer of why these people, when they get in office, you ever have somebody say, well, I don't understand why when they, before they're in office, they're all great and they've got all the right words, but when they get in office, they go totally wrong. Well, it's economic capture, and I'm going to post a video on economic hitmen and how they send them into people and basically say, I'm going to give you money, we're going to take care of your kids, blah blah blah, and if you don't, here's a gun pointed at your head. You got two choices, and that's it. You either die or you're going to jump into the system. And I know that's what happened to Jesse Ventura, several other people. And so we've got a real problem here, and it's going to have to take some very strong people to stand up to this and say, you know what, we're not doing this. We're done with this. And the resources of the state need to be returned to the state. So kind of a little bit annoyed with this whole thing.
It is difficult to get a person to do the right thing when their paycheck depends on the corruption. And that's what we have in Michigan and in the federal government. We have people that are getting paid gobs of money, making big money while becoming wealthy because the system is corrupt, and it's hard to get them to fix the system when they're making all this kinds of, when you know, Nancy Pelosi is making $200 million. What is that? Pocahontas has got $30 or $63 million in her account, and so on and so forth. It's hard to get them to correct the system when they are part of the corruption. And that's the same thing that goes on in Michigan. We have the same people in Michigan that we keep voting back in, that spend hundreds of thousands of dollars running for office. Why do they do that? For a job that pays $73,000 a year?
Right.
Because it's the perks afterwards, because it's the money behind the scenes that they're able to steal from the public. And that's exactly what they're doing in Michigan. They're stealing from the public. John Engler was one of the biggest crooks of all. Bought himself an airplane, et cetera, and was voted in time in again. I remember when he was buying chairs for the Congress at $9,000 a chair and getting away with it. So what happened with that? All that? What kind of chair is made for $9,000? Is it gold embossed, or is it a gold chair, or what? I don't know. But that was what he was doing. And then we have the one who, and I'm sure it came from England, but I'm not positive, the Nestle deal.
Oh, yeah.
Letting them use the Great Lakes to suck the money, the Chinese, to suck the money out of one of the Great Lakes, send it to China, and China bottles it and sends it back to us so we can pay for it. This is the kind of nonsense. And of course, he lives in the high and mighty lifestyle right now. And occasionally he pops in and out of the political system. But he's a crook. And he wasn't the only crook. I mean, it went on with what's the one in the federal government right now? The Canadian. How the Canadian ever became a governor of Michigan is beyond my understanding. But and then we have, of course, Witless, that's in office right now, and she's as big a crook as them all because she's protecting Blue Cross Blue Shield and her father and her legacy, and pocketing her money. And now we've got the Benson that's running for office. Why would she run for office? She's a criminal. She's going to get caught.
She's already caught. She just got to get prosecuted. There's so much evidence out there on her wrongdoing, and she just seems to keep skating through.
So here's the question: how could she become governor of Michigan? People should be awake now, at no matter what, and do a bigger than too big to rig this election in Michigan, and not put her in office. But that's, we got.
Well, what's really sad, John, is that we've been doing reports, and I've got a report coming up, and it shows that there was in one instance $2.4 million that was allocated to discredit me in the 2022 election, and there's no attached to it. Do you know how much money? That's more money than what I spent on my campaign, because I didn't want to do it the way everybody else did it. I knew it was corrupt. I didn't take the PAC money. I didn't take the dark money. I'm like, this is dumb. We cannot outspend them. It's ridiculous.
Even if you would have taken the dark money, you would have lost.
I would have lost because
the
they had it
system is rigged.
They had it so crafted. When everybody sees the report of what they did, they had it so crafted before I did anything. They had it crafted to take me out because I was a threat, because I wasn't part of them. I'm not very controllable, which is annoying to people around me. I'm sure, but the point being is that they had this thing laid out. They even had the news was in on it, the whole thing, and that's what they do to anyone who's a true outsider.
They're the same issues.
Yeah. And I mean, look at some of the things in people's lives. I believe that both Christina Caramo and I know that Kelly had some drug rehab time in their backgrounds. People don't realize how they recruit people, and that, quite honestly, most of these people are recruited. I don't really know if people understand it that are serving in the say townships understand. They know that they're recruited, but they don't know who's recruiting them. And so, because somebody's recruiting them, but they never get to who's really recruiting them to put them in place. Even at the township level, there's a recruitment process. Ask any of them. They'll say they're recruited, but they don't know who it is, and they don't know who they're really representing. So these village idiots get put in place. Their families get contracts. Their buddies get contracts through the township. They end up getting compromised. The same thing that you have at the state level and the federal level.
That's right. Absolutely. Now, you were talking about raising the minimum wage with your TikTok thing, so we really should beat up on this a bit. It's not.
Let me give a little background on this so everybody knows if they haven't seen the TikTok video. So California basically lost 16,000 jobs, and I was doing it as a case study. They lost 16,000 jobs by raising the minimum wage to $20 an hour. Okay. They had a 14% increase in their fast food prices. It's just fast food industry alone. I'm just going to say it right now. These people that are in office are idiots and or criminally, insanely intelligent to destroy whole industries so that they can turn this into nationalized public-private partnerships, private-public, public-private, whatever you want to call it. And so they're nationalizing whole industries. When I was younger, I worked as a waitress. I made killer tips in the early 80s. Just unbelievable. You couldn't make that much an hour in working a normal job, and I didn't even care if I got a wage. If you provide good service, you will always. And this is something I always taught my kids. If you provide service, and I mean good service for people, you will always have a job and you'll never be hungry, because it doesn't take much just to be above the normal level of service in the United States of America, which is they'd have to improve just to suck, right? So it kind of makes it easy for people that can actually produce to really do well in the world, because the bar's so low. But to raise the minimum wage, they just stabbed everybody in the back that is in that service industry, because the food prices raised 14%. Well, people are going to pay less in tips, and so it's just crazy. You can make $100 an hour being a waitress just on tips. You can sometimes make $200 an hour if just on tips if you're a good waitress and you're not just lazing around talking to people in the back kitchen or something, which I've seen done.
First of all, minimum or these types of jobs, McDonald's and so on and so forth, those are stepping stone jobs. You get out of high school and you get a low paying job just so you can get your feet wet in the working industry, prove that you are reliable, prove that you are, you dress well, prove that you are a good person, and then you step up to other positions. whether you like working for McDonald's or not, or and I'm using that as a fast foods joint. I don't like McDonald's, but that's a stepping stone. So the next level of job that you get will pay more because it's requiring more thinking, more
Knowledge.
on your more knowledge, more ability, and so you don't start out at the higher level job. You start out at a stepping stone, at a low level job, delivering newspapers, which we don't do anymore. But as a newspaper person, if you were delivering newspaper, you couldn't live the rest of your life delivering a newspaper that doesn't pay that kind of money. And you may or may not be able to live a decent life as a short order, I don't know, or cook, I guess, in McDonald's, or the cashier of McDonald's, or the cleaner of McDonald's, until you move up the ladder a little bit. Now, that's part of the problem. It is a low level job, and it's a low paying job. So it gives you an opportunity to get into the workforce out of high school, or even if you don't finish high school, before as a high school dropout, you've got a place to start. That's number one. Number two, if our economy, if our money system was stable, that the inflation wouldn't be in there, then you could survive on a low entry job, because you have the money you make is worth today what it's worth tomorrow. But with inflation in our system, today you earn $1 and the spending power is really 50 cents. Or tomorrow you earn another $1 and the spending power is 35 cents, and it goes down and it goes down and it continues to go down. And you find that, excuse me, you can't make any kind of stable life. You can't buy a car, you can't find an apartment, you can't do so on and so forth on this job, because it's not paying enough money for you to live a decent life, not a comfortable life, but just getting up and going to work and having a place to go and hang your hat at the end of the day. That's part of the problem. What causes inflation? Well, it's the international banking cartel, it's the Federal Reserve, it's the business that we have that causes this problem. Now, where did this start? Well, it started back in 1933 when Roosevelt took us off the gold standard, and it really got bad when Johnson was in office in 1963, and he took us off the silver standard. And that's when the money just went wild. And the Federal Reserve was pushing this all along. Back in 1913, when they became established, this is where they wanted to go, so they could print the money out of nothing and get you to work and slave for that, what we call income tax, to pay the Federal Reserve back. The Federal Reserve has a 100% payback on the money that they loan out of the paper that they loan, because it's not money, it's paper. And it has no intrinsic value. It is exactly what you want to believe it is. So we're on a belief system, but the belief system is backfiring because it has to destroy itself. Because as they continue to inflate the money supply, and who inflates the money supply? Our government, our Congress, those Democrats in office for the most part.
And Republicans, all of them are in on it.
Rhinos, we want to call them.
Okay.
I'm not, as you see my shirt, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat.
I'm an American.
I'm an American. So what's causing this problem is the party systems that play each other against each other. And they turn around and they have all of these programs. And as we are finding out from Doge, that these particular government employees, public functionaries who are in Congress and are becoming billionaires and millionaires on 170,000 a year, I think they're making 176,000 a year that they're making. Those people, that are making $176,000 a year and are now worth $200 million. And we look at Pelosi. We look at Pocahontas, who's worth $63 million. I have no idea how much Hillary Clinton is worth. These people are the ones that are causing the problem because they're taking the money. They're spending the money on certain programs, the sex life of a snail darter, but they're getting kickbacks from that. They're getting maybe $100,000 is going into studying that, but the rest of the millions are going back to the politicians, the public functionaries that are sitting in office that are playing this game on us, and we're the slaves because we have to work twice as hard, or 3 times or 4 times as hard, take 2 different jobs or 3 different jobs to make our life ends meet, so we can live. We can eat and heat our house in the wintertime. So we have to work double hard. So we are the slaves. This is an economic slave process that the government has set up, that the Federal Reserve has set up. And the only way to get rid of it is to get rid of the Federal Reserve and go back to a sound money system of gold and silver, where they can't inflate the system.
Yep, and that's a real problem on how they are. And then they're selling ways to get there, but they're only giving 1 or 2 choices. They're not actually giving you the benefits, the pros and the cons for things. They're just telling you what they're going to do, but there's not an alternative. So they'll use a headline to try to get everybody to form consensus behind things, when it's the bankers all the time that are pushing this, and they're like putting people into a cattle chute. They're making us go exactly where they want us to go in order to achieve their ends.
Well, and then they have another good part of this program that they have set up. See, they have what they call millage votes, where the public votes on a millage to raise their taxes. Come on. That's part of the problem. When you vote on a millage or you vote on a particular program for funding, you are taking the job of the legislature away from the legislature. And now you voted for it. You agreed to it. So what are you going to do? So how can you complain? You voted yes for it. And therefore, we can tax you 2.10 or whatever millage for education, for the parks, for the library, for so on and so forth. That was supposed to be funded by the government to begin with.
Right. There's the point right there. If they were managing it correctly, they wouldn't have to ask for more millage, because they would be able to handle this in a different way. And actually, they should be doing it in a way that actually makes money for the people of the state, managing their asset. Think about this. If you have an asset that you can put to work, like a business, right? Why would you ask the owners of the asset to continue to pay into this? So, and have no benefit out of it whatsoever. It should absolutely be reversed. And I've never heard anybody else say what I'm saying, but honestly, this should be a moneymaker for the people of the state.
We are
correctly.
That's right. We are the slaves. It's called an economic slave, where we have to labor for paper, which has no intrinsic value, which deflates over time. And that's what we are. That's the process that we have been put in all of these years since the Federal Reserve came on board in 1913. It took them many years to get there, because, as I say, and then Nixon took us off the international gold standard. So money fluctuates at will, and generally it inflates, and so the spending power of the dollar is what, 2 cents now? A dollar is worth 2 cents in real spending value, and so that's what the people need to understand. And if the people understood that, and they understood the economics of the system, they'd fire these guys in office every year, every 2 years, kick them out. because they're the ones, once they stay in for any length of time, and we have career politicians. Oh yeah, we have term limits. We have term limits. You can only be a Congress or a House of Representatives for 4 years. That's 2 terms. But then you can run for Senate and be a senator for another 4 and 4 is 8 more years. And then once you become a senator, you can run for governor. Well, if you don't make governor, maybe the federal government will pick you up for the program like what's her face, the Canadian, what's her name, who is now working for the federal government and ripping us off in the federal
Granholm.
Granholm. She's collecting a salary from being governor for 8 years. 8 years? Yeah, 8 years. And then she's now working for the federal government, where she can collect that big paycheck for the federal government and rip us off, which is what she's doing.
And make a $1.6 million gain on a stock trade that looks like insider trading.
Part of it.
But I digress, They're all doing the insider trading.
That's right. Well, they call it, or they're going to sell a book for millions of dollars, or they're going to do hunter paintings for $100,000 a year, a painting or whatever. They have all kinds of ways of playing the game and stealing money from the public. That money is kickback money. That money is kickback money from the programs that they brought on board to fund Ukraine, to fund the snail darter, to fund whatever they're funding. That's kickback money that goes into their pocket.
Or becoming a lobbyist. That's Al Richards said that. Becoming a lobbyist is another thing they do, is they get in there and continue to push these industry cartels.
Exactly. So they all get into the system because they are corrupt to begin with, or they can be corrupted. And once they are in the system, it's hard to get rid of them, because the public, oh, he's such a handsome person. Oh, she's such a good-looking lady. I like looking at her. Like these dumb public people think when they look at politicians. They don't look at what does the politician do. They look at how they look, that they're really cute, or they speak well, or whatever. They don't have any idea of what's going on and the background and who these people are. And that's why political systems are bad.
I would vote for Quasimodo if he could make this state work. It's like, it doesn't matter what somebody looks like. That is one of the dumbest metrics to make a decision on managing an asset.
So going back to the minimum wage, you have to have a wage increase. California had to, because those people are getting ripped off by the government on a constant basis. And to be able to cover it up from the banking system, from the politicians stealing from you, they have to give you a minimum wage to make you feel good. But when they give you a minimum wage to make you feel good, like, oh, you're now making $20 an hour, McDonald's can't afford that. McDonald's fires you, and you're right. Now we have an unemployment problem, and this will continue until we get rid of the Federal Reserve. They have to go. They're not federal government. They are a private banking concern that knows how to steal from the public, and they've been good at it. They've been doing it for years.
Well, I think that another point there is that they're trying to nationalize all of our businesses, just like China has. China is basically nationalized. If you got a business there, the CCP owns it. Stated right there that they own it. That's what they're trying to do in the United States of America. And when you look at what Whitmer, the wretch did during the COVID lockdowns, she basically destroyed 30% of the small businesses in Michigan, and they never came back. But we can open the doors to like Home Depot and Lowe's and everybody else, the big box stores, and let them go in there, so we can benefit what? Oh, I don't know, BlackRock and some of the other big conglomerates and such. it's like this is a big game. I mean, they're all playing this economic capture game, and I think that we really need to understand how this works with, say, how they compromise people in office, how they place them in office. These people are recruited to be there. We don't even have an election. If you look at the rigged elections, we don't even have a real election coming out of the gate, because they have their little Bilderberg, Bohemian Grove candidates that have already been vetted and have already taken the, drank the Kool-Aid and whatever else they gave them, they're lined up for these jobs. They've lined them up, and they're just a puppet. And this is all the big money bankers, the big corporations, and it really only benefits, communism only benefits a very small percentage of people. The rest of us are irrelevant to them. What's that?
Socialism.
It's like relevant up to them.
In the pure form and the pure sense of the definition, but we won't worry about that. But I want to get into who started this public-private partnership. Who brought this to the forefront? Schneider.
Snyder did.
Republican.
Yes.
Right? He's the one that wanted to build a bridge in a public-private partnership. A public-private partnership is actually fascism, where you get the corporations and the government to work against the public. And that's what they're doing. And so Gretsch is just carrying on Schneider's, and who knows before Schneider, Granholm, what Granholm did. And she might have brought this whole process on. I didn't hear her say it publicly, but she might have been, maybe that was what the Nestle water business was all about, and some of the other land grabs that she was involved in, and shipping garbage to Michigan. That was her process, shipping the Canadian garbage to the state of Michigan for a profit. Who got that profit? And then how about the lottery? Where did that go? Where did all that lottery money go? All of these processes that they have been putting on the public, and of course they're going to tell you it's for the public good that they're going to do this, but it's really for their own graft and corruption. How much can they make? How much can I make if I pull this off on the public? And that's the game that they're playing, and we, the public, are not paying attention, and therefore we're getting ripped off. Go to work, spend your 8 hours or 14 hours a day working your rear end off so you can make ends meet, and the government's stealing from you on a constant basis. That's what's going on, and people need to say, hey, wait, we got to stop this.
Al Richards just said it's two heads of the one serpent. That's true. And I think the casinos are a big problem too, because I have a friend that works in a casino, and she basically said people will come in with bags of money and they launder it through the casinos. So that's a big problem. There's something else weird that I heard this morning. So like, I was not aware, you know how you're not aware of something, then all of a sudden you become aware of some of things, that if men are not paying child support in at least the state of Iowa, the state will take their driver's license. So they get farther and farther behind, so they can't even get to work. I'm like, who in the hell made up this system to, further enslave people? It's crazy.
Well, we have similar systems in Michigan. If you don't pay child support, you go to jail. I'm not in favor of people not paying their child support, but the process by which they go after these people makes no sense. If you're in jail, how are you going to pay child support?
Okay, this goes back to a core issue that is fundamentally a Christian issue, which I find is to be fairly intelligent way to approach this, honestly. Yes, everybody should be taking their fair share of responsibilities. I had a long discussion with my husband about this morning, which was great. He has a wonderful way of framing things in a very male way, which is funny. He's funny about it. But the reality is that, to go back to the beginning, it's like, if you are playing around with somebody, girls, you're going to get pregnant. It's just the way it works. We're made to produce offspring, right? And guys, if you've got 3 or 4 baby mamas because you can't control yourself and just think, oh, no big deal, I'll create a kid, but then I'm not going to spend any time with them, and I'm not going to, I'll just pay the bare minimum and then go off and get somebody else pregnant. This is a big problem. It's a responsibility problem. There needs to be a focus on the fact that you create it. You better plan on raising it and paying for it and actually parenting it and being, a child. If you're gonna produce a child, you need to, that would right there cut down this nonsense of the state owning our children, determining our outcome. And I'm sorry, ladies, it's time to keep your legs together and stop this nonsense. And guys, you got to stop just going from one woman to the next. And your last 3 women that have had babies, you're so far past them, you don't even remember their names anymore. It's horrible.
Well,
and who suffers? The kids do. It's like that's another philosophical thing that we should get into. I'm sure you remember this too. When I was a kid, we all worked with our parents, and it was exciting. We got to be with big boys and girls, right? We got to be with the adults and have important jobs. I mean, my dad had me filling trucks in the gravel pit when I was like 7 years old, and I thought it was great. I was doing a real job. Well, now the kids play all day, and then we wonder why they don't want to play when they want to work when they get older, because they don't know how to work. It wasn't exciting for them. So all they want to do is play all day and get on their phones. And what am I doing this weekend with my friends and such, instead of having that sense of community, of caring about the people around them, their own children, for God's sakes, as well as the community. There needs to be a spiritual change here. And I honestly think that if people had to come smack in reality and have to deal with the messes and the problems they cause in life. And I'm not saying kids are a problem, not at all. Kids are wonderful. The problem is that if they treat a child as a disposable, temporary entertainment for them, but as soon as things get difficult, or the kids mouth off to them or something else happens, they're just on to the next thing. It's terrible.
Well, there's a lot of processes that have to be brought forth, but the biggest problem that we have is going back to our government, going back to the nonchalant, I don't care society that the government has brought forth over these years. And again, it's all been brought forth by the international banking cartel. We can all go back to the banks because they have no morals nor scruples about printing as much money as they possibly can get out, because they've got the income tax that pays the Federal Reserve back. I have relatives in my family that say, oh, I got to pay taxes because that's what funds the government. No, that's what funds the Federal Reserve. Come on. That's what keeps the Federal Reserve in business. That doesn't have anything to do with the government, because we wouldn't have a deficit if we were funding the government. But we're funding the Federal Reserve through taxes, and the Federal Reserve is turning around and sending money to the government and calling borrowing, which we're paying interest on. It's a backward system, and that's where we have to get into reality. And as long as we have a Federal Reserve system that can print money out of nothing, we're going to have people in our society that live in this disposable bubble that we live in at the moment. Gotta go to work. I can't take care of my child, and I can't be home with my wife. And I got to go to work because I got to make ends meet to pay the house bill. And I got this nice secretary that keeps me company while I'm at work. And it goes on and on and on. It's the nonsense that has been created by the government. And don't think that the public is not to blame, because we have allowed it. We've allowed this system to continue. We've allowed the corruption to continue. We've allowed judges to behave the way they behave, and we haven't said, no, this is not going to happen. This is not going to. And it's taken a long time for President Trump to gain the popularity that he has right now, because he had to work hard at it to do so. Because as you remember, back in 2016 and before then, they were laughing at him. They said, oh, this guy will never do very good and he'll never make president. We got this under control. And it's taken him all of these years to get to this point. This is not going to happen overnight and by dreaming about it. This is going to happen by actually getting out and doing something about it. Suing the government, suing the public functionaries, getting their $200 million back into the government, back into the public realm where it belongs, putting Pelosi in prison or hanging her, one or the other. She probably deserves to be hung for treason. And she's not alone. There's tons of them out there. We haven't created enough hemp rope to hang all of the politicians that have been causing the problems to this country. We need to wake up, folks. We need to go back to the law. I had a lady yesterday that called me and said, I turned on to your program a couple of times and I've listened, but it's so hard. I don't understand. And I says, it's one step at a time. You learn how to read, but you have to learn the alphabet first. Then you had to learn how the words go together. Then you had to learn how to put the sentences together. It's a process. You don't learn it overnight. You don't learn the law overnight, but you got to know the law. You got to know the rule of law in our country, because if you don't know the rule of law, then you go by the rule of man. And when you go by the rule of man, this is what we have, a basket full of crap. And that's what we have to fight.
You were going to bring up some court cases too today.
Well, it was interesting. I was listening to X22, Dave, and Dave was talking about Trump and what was going on with the judicial system, with the judges, and what they were doing in the judicial system. All of a sudden, the judges think they can control control the president. They can't. As we talked last week, we said all three departments are separate, and one department cannot control the other. They can watch the other ones, but they can't control them. And so what they're trying to do in President Trump's case is these corrupt judges, and they are corrupt. And there's a whole bunch in Michigan that are corrupt. I can give you a whole name of them, but we'd be here all day just to name the judges that are corrupt in Michigan. But
we could do that. We could do a whole show on let's name corruption, like name that tune.
That's a good idea.
Corruption.
So what happened back? This isn't new. What's going on in our country right now? People don't know history, but in 1801, Congress passed an act called a Judiciary Act in 1801, where the president at that time tried to get a hold of the judicial system and turn the judicial system into a lawfare system like we have today. That's what they tried to do in 1801. In 1802, the Judiciary Act of 1802 repealed the Judiciary Act of 1801. And based on all of this, Marbury versus Madison in 1803 came up. And Marbury versus Madison, which is a Supreme Court decision, kind of laid the groundwork. Now we have politicians, or not politicians, but attorneys that say Norton versus Shelby County, which is 1886, is an old case. What about 1801 and 1802? In 1803, which is the Marbury versus Madison Act that they follow, or the Marbury versus Madison Supreme Court decision, which they follow. The attorneys can twist and turn the rules and laws because we don't know what they say. We're not paying attention. So they're saying, oh, it's an old case. No, it's not an old case. And besides, our judicial system is based on case law and tradition. It's based on those cases that are formulated back in the 1800s and 1700s, because that and 1900s, because that's what our whole system is set up. It's based on law, and those laws are defined and redefined by Supreme Court cases, and so they're not changed, they're just defined. So we look at Marbury versus Madison, and I'm just going to read a couple of spots in there. One in particular is, like the first paragraph, that the emphasis is the duty of the judicial department is to say what the law is. To say what the law is. So you go to court, you go to you get into a trial court, and the judge rules against you, and he says denied. And that's all he says. He doesn't say why it's denied, based on what law it's denied. He just says it's denied. He says, well, I wear this big black robe, and because I wear this big black robe, I've got the power. I'm the power here. And you got to listen to me. No. You got to base your decision on the law. And so the emphasis on the 1803 case of Marbury versus Madison says the judge has to define what the law is. So we go even to a speeding ticket. A speeding ticket says, based on what? Based on the Department of Transportation. They have set up, the Department of Transportation has set up the laws based on commerce. You can't speed based on commerce. Are you in commerce when you're traveling? No. What's the law say? The law says you have a right to travel wherever you want and however you want, unencumbered by government. That's what the law says. But because we have the Department of Transportation code, they can use that against us because we're ignorant. We don't know any better. We don't know that we're not in commerce. We think because we're traveling from point A to point B, and I'm using a pretty simple analogy here. Traveling is not in commerce. Commerce is driving. So when you're driving a vehicle, you're driving in commerce. You're either selling a product or you're traveling with a passenger who's paying you to travel, to drive. So you are driving, and that brings you into commerce, which brings you under the police department's authority to ticket you and collect revenue. That's a violation of Marbury versus Madison because they didn't tell you what the law was. They figure you're ignorant and you don't know any better, so you pay the ticket. That's part of the problem that we have in our society. So you've got to learn the law.
And that leads to other things too, like the establishment of insurance agencies or the insurance industry. So, I mean, this whole thing, there's other things that were like, you have a tree that has those suckers that will grow off of it. That's exactly what happens in these industries that are controlled. They spawn off other industries.
This is another part of Marbury versus Madison. The government of the United States has been emphatically termed a government of laws and not of men. If we're going to have a republic, this is a government of laws and not of men. This comes out of Marbury versus Madison. It's perfect. It's perfect because when you go to court and a judge rules against you, denies your case, why is he denying your case? Based on what rule of law? He can't just deny your case because he's a big black judge or a big black robe judge, so to speak, and he scares you. He denies your case because of the law, and the law says you can't do the following things based on. We're a nation of law, and in order to get our republic back again, we have to go back to the rule of law. So Marbury versus Madison, which is an 1803 old case. Boy, it's an old case. Listen to the attorneys give you this nonsense. They're attorneys. They're supposed to know the law. Do they know the law? No, they don't know the law. They know what they've been taught in college or in law school, but they don't know the law. They've not been schooled in what the law is. They've been schooled in how to manipulate the law. And we go out and we buy these manipulators. We pay them big money to manipulate for us. And then we either, if we win, then it's a good manipulation. And if we lose, it's not such a good manipulation. So we have to know the law as individual citizens in our country. And again, it's a slow process. You went through high school, you learn how to read, you learn how to do math by adding 1 and 1 to make it 2, and then you went to calculus. You did it the slow process you went through, because that's the way the mind works. So here we're at 50, 40, 50, 60 years old, and we have to learn the law in order to have a better society and a republic. It's a slow process. You got to remember, we did it slowly when we were in high school. We should have learned this in high school. We didn't. And the whole process was set up in such a way that we didn't learn it in high school. We learned social justice in high school, and we learned that it's okay to judge your sex in high school, whether you're really a man or a woman or a boy or a girl. Well, you really don't know because you're a kid, and how would you know? The whole system is screwed up, and the only way we can fix it is to start going back to the real roots of our country, and that's the Constitution. We have to understand the Constitution, and we have to go through the filters of the Constitution, through Supreme Court decisions, which help stabilize what the Constitution is all about. What else can I say?
It's pretty easy to keep it on the rails when you stick to the law.
That's right.
Yeah. And I think too, every time that somebody speaks out about this and helps to educate people, because we didn't have an education in school where they were just teaching us to spit back answers, not to actually think, but to just go along, just get on the program and such. But I think it's getting better, and there's always good and bad in everything. I had some wonderful teachers over the years, and they really stand out to me now, because there were so many that weren't so good. And I think that in all things we have to use discernment on it, but we're learning.
I got one more little short sentence to read that's important. We've talked about this in Ex parte Young, because Ex parte Young really spells it out that they have no immunity. But in Marbury versus Madison, this goes back to 1803. It says, if one of the heads of departments commits an illegal act under color of his office, by which an individual sustains an injury, it cannot be pretended that this office alone exempts him from being sued in the ordinary mode of proceedings.
That's Ex parte Young, right?
Ex parte Young spells it out in 1900 or 1950. I don't remember the date, but it's in the 1900s. This is in the 1800s, came up with this whole idea that if a department person or person in a particular office does something in his capacity under the color of law, which is illegal, he can be held liable.
Which is good news. I mean, everybody out there should be starting to look into how to write these cases and file pro se.
Yeah.
That's something that I think we really should get better at. And I don't know. I mean, there's so many wonderful things we can change by holding them accountable. They're not going to hold themselves accountable. It's
No,
like
absolutely not.
it's like asking to audit themselves. They're not going to audit themselves and find anything. They're just going to substantiate and divert our attention to say, see, we didn't find anything. Nothing to see here.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
We are in a system right now that is set up to corrupt, to be corrupt. And unless we, the public, decide to make a difference, we're going to live in this chain of events of corruption by these public functionaries that are in office stealing from us. And we're allowing it. We are letting them get away with it. We got to stop it.
It'd be really cool if we could start like a group that goes after more legal. I know you guys have a group there on Wednesday night that goes after the lawful defense. But we need to have more groups that are doing this and more people who are actually aware of this process.
See, the law is on our side. It's always been there. The law is for us. We do have other groups out there that are chasing rainbows that are not going to get anywhere because they're distractions. We need to return back to the Constitution, as President Trump has been trying to push forth and trying to educate the public. We need to go back to the Constitution and the laws of the land. They're on our side. They're for the public. They're not for the government.
What is the most exciting thing that you've seen President Trump do so far that, if you had a list of the actions that he's taken and the things that he's done since he's been in office, what are the things that you're most positive over?
Geez, there's that'll take another day to discuss, but
You got it.
we could go with closing the borders. That's a 100% perfect thing he's done. We can go with the lawfare that he's fighting right now in court and getting Supreme Court decisions. That's what he's doing. He's forcing these government public functionaries to push this to the Supreme Court, so the Supreme Court will make a final ruling and then it'll become law. And he's been doing this right along. When they went after his income tax and saying we got a right to check on all of your filings, that's from all of your corporations and businesses, he didn't give it to them. He let them fight for it. He took it to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled that, yes, you have the right to do that. And now he can go back and look at Obama's funding, his male companion funding, Michael's funding. He can go to Jill Biden and find out how much money she's got, how much money all of these other people have gotten from their shell companies, pop-up shell companies that they have produced in order to steal the money from the public. They're all going to jail. It's a matter of time, but it's a matter of education. Again, it's got to learn the alphabet before you can learn to read. So we're learning the alphabet right now, and Trump and the Doge team and so on and so forth, they're teaching us, those of us that have been asleep for all these years, what's going on in our society and our government. They're giving us the education that we should have got back in high school and elementary school. It's tough, and it's, since I've known this for a long time, I wish it would be over, but it will be over when it gets over.
Are you feeling impatient?
I'm a patient person, number one. Number two, I've been in the military, so I know how the military operates, and they are not necessarily fast in their actions. And number three, I realize that in order for the military to be successful and for our education to be successful, we have to talk about it over and over again. One of the people that I know that's a salesman says, you have to tell people 7 times before they finally get the message. So here we are. We're educating you 7 times in 7 different ways so you get the message.
So do you think
the message, we win.
Do you think what's going on right now is a military operation?
Part of it is, yes. Yes, it is.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
the military is 100% on Trump's side. There are, of course, those flakes, the television generals that Trump talks about. Those people are a waste. They should not be. They should be stripped of their ranks. They should go back to private, and they should collect the pension of a private, not of a general. And maybe that's going to happen if they're not hanging first. But they have violated their oath of office. They swore to uphold the Constitution and to protect us against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and they haven't. And those people need to be put on trial for treason. Plain and simple. That's the rule of law.
There you go. And I really think that it's important to study the job descriptions that they all have. We should have assigned, they have their oath of office that they sign, but it should be accompanied, I think, by a job description. What they're
Well,
allowed
it is.
to do.
All of them have job descriptions. They violated them.
I'm not sure that they sign them though, do they?
They swear an oath to office.
Okay, well maybe
Their oath of office is their job description.
I want to see the written job descriptions, the oaths of office, and exactly so I understand. Yes, I don't just want to see that they'll defend the Constitution. I want to say you are to do this job, this job, this job, this job.
What is the job of where do you find the job description of the legislature?
Would be in the Michigan Constitution, wouldn't you?
In the federal Constitution and in the Michigan Constitution.
Right.
The federal Constitution gives 18 job descriptions for the legislature to do, and that's all they can do.
Well, I guess I'm looking for maybe a little bit finer grained information in there, just so that we have clarification, because they can't seem to manage the broad brush stroke. So
well, then you're out of office. If you're that ignorant, you get out.
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
Ignorant, you get tried for treason, and you get hung.
I just kind of think that it might be helpful. I actually was talking to somebody in our township, and they're like, and I was asking them questions, and they said, "Well, we're just citizens. We don't know that. We're taking our orders from the state." And I'm like,
resign.
You just admitted to incompetence and such, but how many people would step into a position anymore without a little more guidance? An honest person. I just think it might be helpful, so I think it might be helpful, because I'm not seeing the competence of being able to manage the broad brushstroke here, but that's just me. So do you want to give yourself a plug?
Yes,
here?
I do. We're going to be...
You know what? Hang on. I got to get your banner up. Remember, I made banners.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see if I can get the banner up a minute. And let's see. I know you're here.
We're going to be talking about the Door Rebellion on Wednesday.
The Door Rebellion. What's that?
Those of you that are not familiar with it, I'll give you a short description.
My banners went away.
Door decided to try to put a parallel government in office. And he went into the woods and he got 100,000 people or 600 people or so on and so forth to vote him in as a governor. And then he wanted to take over the government office that was, I don't even remember what state it is, Vermont, maybe, I think. And eventually was caught and he was tried and they convicted him of treason, and a year later they dismissed the charges. So it's a very good history lesson to come to our meeting and listen to what the Door Rebellion is about, and the court cases that came from that Door Rebellion. And it's part of history. It's part of what we should know, that these things do exist, that you can't set up a parallel government as some of these organizations out there think they can. We're going to set up a parallel government. We're going to run our country and we're going to become de jure, and therefore those people that are de facto are going to get out of office and let us occupy. No. If you don't know anything about the Door Rebellion, you really should show up. So come to themagnificentrepublic.com, find out how to get involved. It'll give you an insight, or you can write me at my email and ask me for an invite, and I'll send you an invite either way. The Door Rebellion, we will be talking about this week and what follows.
And your email is jtatar2@yahoo.com in case anybody wants that to be revisited here. So, well, fantastic. Thanks, John. And I appreciate you coming on today and just going over all this again. And like you said, I think that the strength of doing this on Tuesday mornings with you is that it's over and over and over again. We're getting more education on the same subject and repeating and repeating and repeating, so that at some point in time, if there's a test, we should all pass this with flying colors.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go to a quick break here, and I'll be bringing on Shawn Starry, and we're going to be talking about home defense. I will be right back.
Bye.
Good morning and welcome to the second hour of Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and it is the 18th day of, 18th day of March 2025. Don't multitask, Donna. You're going to get screwed up here. So, and just want to welcome everybody to the show. I'm going to take that banner off a minute. So, and we're going to go in and welcome in Shawn Starry, and we're talking about home defense. How you doing, Shawn?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I always love talking with you. We get to explore all these cool things that those of us who are kind of like woodsy, farmy, preppery type people love to go through. I'm really excited because I got to tell you, I've been working with getting the bee season rolling, and I've got a planting tower. I've been studying both the hydroponics and as well as the different towers and ways to actually farm and be sustainable on very, very little land. And even if you're in an apartment, you can raise enough food to feed your family. Quite honestly, you just got to work at it a little bit. Maybe know a farmer so you can get some protein, a little bit more protein. But it's all possible. So I'm kind of excited. I love talking about this. And then home defense, there's another one. So you kind of like hit all my topics.
Yeah, with all the conservative swatting that's been going on, it's been a really big issue that's been affecting a lot of Americans as far as free speech goes. They're trying to be intimidated, kind of like the brown shirts of the Nazi Germany. We're seeing that going on. And, years ago, I actually put a book together to teach people on how to protect themselves from various different things like this. And but my company that I had started back in 2017, we had put together 3 different training videos for people. If they wanted to watch it, they certainly can. It's pretty much the core education from the book itself, but I know a lot of people are more visual when they see something more animated in a sense. But, one of the key things that I talk with a lot of realtors is that, when you are selling a house to somebody, you should interest them in getting a copy of the book, because the very first thing you do when you buy a house is you want to set up your security into your new home before you start moving in, because this way it's all done. You know exactly what to do, what type of equipment works best and what doesn't. I've spent over $80,000 worth of security equipment that's been out on the market. I tested every one of them. I've actually had a police SWAT team actually assist me in some of these devices to see if this is going to be something that's going to be, focused on quality, focused on safety. I'll give you a good example. So, like the linebacker door bar, it is a product that's actually made by a man in Ohio. And he based it on the idea, like, in the medieval times, they used to have that big piece of wood that's kind of, right over the door, and it prevents the invaders from coming in. And linebacker door bar was constructed with solid steel. So it actually attaches to the outside of the frame of the door, which is right onto the studs the door is on. And when the SWAT team was actually utilizing that on the training center, it took them an hour and 47 minutes just to be able to get through the door. So, if the cops so if the cops can't get through it right away, without a huge battering ram to take down half your wall, I guarantee you the criminals aren't going to be able to find their way through that door. So, but I have 3 training videos. I posted the links here.
I'm trying to get them to come up because they're on your Telegram channel, and for some reason, and I've got Telegram up, I can't seem to make it work. And I've been sitting here trying to fiddle with it a little bit. If you want to keep talking, I'll keep working on this a little bit, because I've been trying to get it up, and I don't know why it's not going. It's not going to your Telegram channel. Let's try this. Let's go to. I'm going to go to the exact. What's your channel name?
So it is. Let's see here. It's called My Editorial.
Here it is. I think I got it. It may or may not be you, actually, but it's a cool channel. Just put it in the private chat, and I'll the name of the channel, and I'll go in and look through the channel, because for some reason it's not allowing. This is really a real problem right now, because I've been looking at my channels and they are absolutely throttling channels on both Telegram and X. No two ways about it. We're being censored. And the one that I'm not being censored on, which is shocking, is TikTok. I had one that got removed for a community guideline strike, and it was just content. And then after that, though, my channel keeps building, but the rest of these, it's just non-existent.
Should I put it in your precinct?
Put it in the private chat.
In the private chat.
Yeah, put it in the private chat, and then on the streaming service here, and then I'll see if I can get to it that way. But it's really been causing me some problems the last few days I've been watching it. And I have friends too. I have one friend, Jonathan Cagle. He got kicked off again. He gets kicked off of X about once every 2 to 4 weeks. And I still don't have my original channel, and I've appealed it. I still don't have that restored. So, if everybody wants me to really give them all sorts of props without questioning them, then you can't pick and choose. So, y'all are listening. So, if you're listening to me, then we really do need to, we really, you know what? If you were to put it in, you could put it in my chat too, the chat on Telegram.
Okay.
If you just post it there, then I'll go right straight to the bottom of that, and I'll play it from there.
Okay.
And then that way, that might be the easiest way for me to put it up on screen. Real news for real people by real people at the kitchen table.
Okay.
That'll be the easiest way to find it.
Here we go. All right, so here's the first one.
Okay. Let's see if it comes out here, and we just need to fiddle with this. You know what? I guess here's the deal. You know what? I suppose I could put it in there too.
It says it failed to post.
Yeah, see, this is what's been happening a lot. Let me see what I can do here, because maybe I can get it to work. But this is, honestly, let's see. Okay. Up here. Let's see if it'll bring me there that way. You can't access the message. You aren't a member of the chat where it was posted.
Now, I do have the training videos on my TikTok page as well. I'm going to try to see if I can.
Yeah, this is going to be a problem. Can you add me? Can you add me to the
Telegram?
To the chat. Say put me in the Telegram chat, and then I'll be able to click on it and display it.
Okay.
Let's try this a few ways. This is the way it works. You know, when you're researching or you're trying to get things done, you can't let temporary setbacks dissuade you. You got to just keep going. Endeavor to persevere. There's a
Right.
let's
see.
Because it's not coming through here at all, and I mean at all. Like a little wall of. Here we go.
Yeah, I sent you the link.
Okay, let's see if I can make this work here.
And then I'll add you over here.
Yeah, it's not even letting me, when I put the link in, it's not letting me display it. That's one of those things that when you're dealing with the different apps and the different platforms, sometimes you got to do workarounds. Okay, let me know when I'm at it, and then I'll just go ahead and click on it. Should let me in. Makes sense on why I couldn't get in there. Mama B's posting like crazy.
It's
I think you got to add me to your contacts, and then once you add me to the contacts, then I think you'll be able to maybe get me in the chat.
okay.
Let's try that.
Okay.
Actually, this is kind of one of the things I like best about doing the channel the way that we do it, is that it kind of all right, let's see if that'll get me in. It kind of is authentic. You know, we're not messing with, let's see. Okay, hang on a minute. I think we might have this. Ta-da! Whammo. Got it. Okay. Oh, this is okay. Cool. Let me see how far up I need to go for that video. Do you have it labeled? Is it my editorial 1?
Okay. So are you in?
I'm in.
Okay. If you go to the first one, looks like the burglar is kind of trying to pry the door open.
Perfect. Got it.
And then just.
Oh, it's TikTok. It goes to TikTok for me.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Let's see if we can do this. And there we go. Now let me see if I can bring this up so we can see this. All right. Come on, people. Ta-da. See, there's a will, there's a way. Now let me see if I can get the sound up on it.
Yeah.
And this is where the magic starts. The ability to continue on when things don't go exactly. Oh, wait a second. Sort of one more step. Sorry, guys. One more step and we'll have it.
So the first one is focused on prevention. So the key to any successful home security is prevention.
Do you want me to pause on this?
Yeah.
Okay, let's try this. This is kind of fast here. Let me see if I can grab it and, oh, for Pete's sakes. Okay. Let me see if we can grab it and go through. Let's go through this as like a PowerPoint here. Okay. There we go.
So having an active security camera system. Now, Wi-Fi securities are, considered to be the norm. Now, there's been some changes since then, but you really need to pay attention to who you're buying your Wi-Fi security cameras from. Now, personally, myself, I have closed circuit television cameras. Now, what's the difference between Wi-Fi security cameras and closed circuit television cameras? Is that with closed circuit, I'm not actually connected to the internet whatsoever, which means I'm not going to get notifications on my phone. Now, if you're going to use Wi-Fi, I would recommend you use that for where your front door is and where your back door is. But as far as like the inside of your home or other areas of your house, I would suggest as a closed circuit television camera system. Now, understand that cameras themselves are strictly for recording purposes. Now, oftentimes, just the camera being there, obviously, the burglar's going to think twice about it. But on here it says proactive Wi-Fi security cameras. It allows you to be able to get a notification when the motion sensor is activated by a human movement. So cameras come with a two-way audio that allows you to be able to talk with the person outside your door without ever having to go to your door or be at home, right? You can give them the impression that you are home. So burglars won't rob your place if your home is occupied, okay? Also, most cameras are now equipped with a siren on them, or some allows you to be able to upload your own sound to the what do you want to call it, to the alarm. It could be a siren, it could be whatever, and you can activate that from your phone.
Get your attention in a quick hurry.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go on to the next one here a minute.
Okay, so the second step is building approved home security. So it's very vital to remember to lock your doors with deadbolts and to lock your windows before you leave your home, okay? Make sure that your windows are covered with dark or hard to see through solid drapes. Or you can use tint. There's called a product called BDX that they sell on Amazon that allows you to be able to, it's like a plastic type of film that you can put on your windows. A lot of businesses use kind of like a hazy looking type of BDX on their windows to prevent people from being able to see inside, unless it kind of forces them to come inside rather than just looking in. So burglars will look into your windows before approaching your doors. And this is the real indication that they are burglars and not genuine people visiting, okay? So you can add a window or a door blocker for your home that will restrict areas that are not in public view from outside. So one of the big strategies that the bad guys use is they're going to try to go to the back side of your home where they're not in public view. Maybe you've got like a little corner area of your house where it's not It's not in public view, and they're going to look to the window to see if you have something in there that's worth smashing and grabbing. And they're also going to test your windows to see if they can open it as well. So if you have things blocking the view, it makes it impossible. Just kind of remember this general rule. If it's out of sight, it's out of mind.
There you go.
Okay, so garages and vehicles. This is a really good one. Wanted a great way to keep your garage entry doors harder to break in. Number one, use steel entry doors. Use the 3-inch decking screws in places of the hinges and strike plates, and they will latch on to the framing stud, making the entry harder to break into. Now, kind of keep in mind that when you're putting the screws in, don't screw them in all the way, because here's the issue. Between the casing of the door and the door frame, there's a gap between the two. Usually they use kind of like a shim in between to kind of keep it square. So if you're going to do this, remember, take the trim on the outside off. And if anything else, put more shims in above and below, and then just take out the old screws and put new screws in. I would drill a hole first and then put the new screws in. You don't want to suck it in too far, otherwise your door is not going to be square. So you can always talk to a carpenter about that. Number two, a second deadbolt near the lower half of your door to prevent kick-ins. When you are not using the garage door, install a padlock inside of the door track. Okay, this will ensure that no one will be able to enter, even if they hack the radio signature of your garage door opener. And then another cheap way to do it too is you can take a bolt and you can stick a bolt through it with a nut on the end, so that way the door itself it won't be able to. If they try to open it by force, that bolt's going to catch it and it's not going to be able to open. So, if you're home and your garage is attached to your house and you're getting ready to leave, you can go out there and just take that bolt off and the nut and set it off the side, and then you can open up your door. Before you leave, this is what I tell people: before you leave, make sure the door is closed all of the way before you leave. A lot of people, they just hit that garage door button and then they just take off. And they don't realize that there's somebody, could be around the corner somewhere, or kind of watching. They're looking to see what you have inside your garage, or they're waiting for you to leave. As soon as you leave, they kind of roll themselves in. So you want to make sure that door is closed all the way. So this is to continue to make sure your windows are tinted or covered. Use double paned windows. Most houses nowadays have double pane windows because of the argon gas that's actually in between the double panes for to keep the heat in and the cold out, vice versa. And you can add a window blocker to prevent the prying open of the windows. Okay, so what I mean by a door blocker, I'll give you the cheat sheet on this to save you a ton of money. If you got an old broom handle that you're just not using, don't throw it away. You go to your window. When your window's closed, on the top of that window, up into the casing area up at top, measure that exactly and cut off that piece of wood, and then just go ahead and paint it white. Usually most windows are white, so you can just paint it white. And then once it's dry, if that's a window you're never going to use, or it's kind of in a dark corner area of your building on the first floor, stick that up in there. And what that does is it prevents them from being able to open up the window. Now, a lot of people don't realize this, but the locks that are on top, those little screws are only they're like 3/4 of an inch long. They're just set into the plastic on top of the window. It doesn't take a whole lot of force to be able to stick a pry bar and then use a little leverage, and what happens is those screws, they pop out, and that latch comes right off. So you can stick a piece of wood, or, you know, if you have a piece of metal or something, you can stick it up into the corner of the window, and that'll prevent the window from opening. Okay. Same thing with your glass sliding doors. So if you have a glass sliding door and you want to prevent somebody from breaking in, just stick a piece of wood down in there, just as, you know, long as you can be able to get it out. Usually what I've done in the past is I would take a piece of 2x4 and I would stick it down in there, cut it to the length, stick it down in there. But it would be, you know, painted the same color as the frame. So when the bad guy comes to your house, they can't see it because it's blended in, right? It's like camo. But when they try to open up the door, they're not going to be able to get it open. Why? Because that particular piece of wood or metal is keeping that door or that window from being able to open. So you can add a magnetic sensor to your doors and windows, right? So the idea of the magnetic sensors, you want to make sure that if you're going to get magnetic sensors, get them from the 3M company. Any other cheap ones that you find, the problem is the quality is really crappy. So even with the magnets are still, you know, coming into contact, for some reason they still trip. But you want to get the ones from 3M. So what happens is when the window opens or the door opens, it breaks that contact with the magnets. And when the magnets break contact, there's like a loud piercing alarm sound goes off. That lets the homeowner know, okay, somebody is trying to gain entry. But at the same time, it's also kind of like a really good deterrent tool, because if the burglar hears that alarm go off, they'll take off running. With burglars, you have to understand they have a cardinal rule. They don't want to be seen and they don't want to be heard. So that means they don't want to be seen on camera, number one. If there is no cameras, something that you clearly can't afford, but you can get magnetic alarms. What that does is it scares them away, because now you've got half of the neighborhood hearing this loud piercing sound. They're going to be looking towards your house, and they don't want to be seen standing on the outside of your house, you know. So the criminal rules of success is to be invisible, not to be heard. Install a Wi-Fi security camera that faces this side door, window area.
Sorry.
That's good. And front door. This allows you to be able to speak and spook them away, or use the alarm feature.
Very cool. Okay, let's do the next one here.
Okay, this is a really good one. Visual deterrence. So this step can be used to warn a crook if they are looking that your home is under 24/7 monitoring by cameras. You can find these signs. Now keep in mind that website doesn't exist anymore. I don't sell the products anymore, but you can go on to Amazon and they have these little stickers that you can, you know, put on your door, put on your windows. So place these in your front or backyard. You can place them on the back side of your fences. This gives a very visual broadcast that your home is protected. You can also buy the stickers online, and then you can place them on your doors and windows. Well, general rule, don't place stickers or security signs up if you don't have any type of security equipment. And the reason why I say this is this. One of the things that we have found when I was doing some interview with some people that were in prison for burglary in the past is they always tell me that the high value target HVTs are always going to be the ones that have these signs or stickers. Oftentimes people get really cheap and just try to use a psychological tactic. And what they have found was the cameras don't work, because they have equipment nowadays. You can look through it and you can actually see if a camera is working or not. But if a camera is not working, they know that it's a dummy camera. Okay. So they're going to think, okay, you've got something in your house that's worth a lot of money. It could be something like electronics. It could be guns. It can be jewelry. It could be anything they can smash and grab, which means is they smash in, they grab it, and they're out of your house within less than 3 minutes. Okay, so I have a 3-minute rule. So if they can get in and get out within 3 minutes, they're going to be successful. So you want to make sure that you actually do have working cameras when you put those up. So
Okay. Yeah, they can see the IR on it, can't they? For cameras.
okay, so I know over the last 4 years we have been dealing with a lot of these liberal Nancy's out there. And I got to tell you, you can use them to your advantage. You got that old lady that sits in a window every day watching the whole neighborhood. She is going to make her your best friend. Okay, make her your best friend, because she knows who comes to your house every day, who doesn't. And if she knows that somebody, let's say you're going to be gone for a weekend, okay, go over and bring over, I don't know, a basket full of blueberry muffins or chocolate chip cookies or something like this, right? And then just let her know, hey, we're going to be gone for 3 days and 3 nights, and then we'll be back on the fourth morning, whatever. And let her know that if anybody comes to the house, just go ahead and call the cops, and maybe give her $20 or something like this, right? These are going to be, this is your first layer, literally your first layer of security is going to be your neighbors. And if somebody does come or start snooping around, they happen to see it before your Wi-Fi camera notifies you, or they see somebody kind of just driving by really slow in front of your house multiple times, they have them call you, and you can check your cameras from your phone. But if you're like me, you have a CCTV cameras, they would just call me and they say, hey, I think somebody is, checking out your house, and you tell them, okay, well, try to get their license plate number, make and model of the car, what time, and just call the police and give them that information. So,
or get a picture. You should get a picture of them too, can't you?
Yeah. If you can take a picture of them, that kind of thing. It's a lot easier, guys. It's a lot easier if you can take a picture.
Yeah, make them the star that they want to be.
Yeah. So, just talk to your neighbors, and another thing too is get your neighbors involved in the neighborhood crime watch programs. And this is where you can build up really good relationships with your neighbors. Now on here it says that just to remember that it takes the police on a national average of 6 to 10 minutes to arrive at your home, and much longer for rural residents. There's been cases where I had a client one time who owned this big farm in the middle of Iowa. And he said that somebody had broken into his home, and while he was actually out in the field, doing harvest season, and stole a bunch of stuff, right? He called the police. As soon as he saw their vehicle leaving from the house, he called the police, and it took the police 24 hours before they can get to him. And the reason being is because most of the time, you have to understand, everything is based on monetary value, right? So there's a triage that the police departments and sheriff's departments have. If a bank is being robbed, they're at the top of the list, okay? If somebody got murdered and a bank was being robbed, they're going to respond to the bank first, okay? It's kind of messed up. They prioritize the bank's money over human life. In some cases, if there's a lot of things going on. They're in the middle of a traffic accident investigation. They say you got one officer at Walmart who's trying to arrest a shoplifter, and your house is way out in the country and you've just been robbed. It could take anywhere from, again, say 6 minutes. That's if they're on the way to your place. It could take an hour. Some days it could take 24 hours. So it's, just to kind of keep a reality perspective is oftentimes the police, they're not there to save you. They're kind of there to pick up the pieces afterwards. And their primary function is to go after the bad guys if you have any evidence, right? But once your house has been robbed and it's done and over with and nobody's hurt, you're going to be at the bottom of the priority list. You're going to kind of work its way back up to, being top of priority, depending on what's going on during that day. So, but when they do come to your house, just understand they're going to get out that little dust print, they're going to dust your entire house, looking for prints and stuff. So you're not only going to have to clean up the mess that the burglars made, you're also going to have to clean up the mess that the police are going to leave behind as well, trying to find evidence and stuff. But one of the things you can do is take pictures of every room in your house. And then just, if you're making any changes, make sure you go back and take pictures again. And the reason being is because this helps you identify what was taken. Oftentimes, most burglary victims don't realize until much later that maybe a piece of jewelry was stolen or something that's very small that was taken, but they've already filed the insurance claim. They can't refile another insurance claim. Oh, well, I got a $10,000 bracelet that was stolen, 6 months down the road. So take pictures of your entire interior. Anytime there's any changes, or I would say every 6 months, take pictures again. This way you keep an accurate record of everything. So the burglars do make it their way in. You have, pictures of it, and you can show the police too. You can say, okay, well, let's take a picture of this and then do the comparison. Okay, this is what's missing, and then that way you can get the actual monetary value of what was taken. So when they file their police report, it could make a huge difference between a couple $100 to a few $1,000s. So when they do catch the bad guy, they can actually charge him on the basis of the monetary value, right? So if it's say over $1,000 and it's considered a felony, in some states, if it's over $100, then it's considered a felony. But it could very well mean the difference. So.
Okay.
Okay, and so finally, have a plan, right? So learn a script that you are going to have when you're speaking through your phone. This allows a little air on tipping off the burglars that you're not at home, okay? Communicate with your neighbors, lock away your valuables when you're going to be gone for more than 8 hours a day. Hidden compartments are a great way to protect your valuables when you're away. You can find some great ideas from DIY online. You can go to Google. They have a whole bunch of different ideas. They have things like a fake outlet, and it's on a spring system. You can just pull it open, and there's a little cup in there, and you put your valuables in there, and you close it up. It looks just like an outlet, but it's really not an outlet. There's a lot of great ideas as far as getting really creative about being able to protect your valuables. The key is don't make it as obvious. You want to make it something that's they're definitely going to overlook. It's right in plain sight, but it's hidden, and they tend to overlook that. So there's a lot of great ideas that you can find on Google. So just remember, a secure plan is better than a regret.
There you go. Oh, that's neat. That's cool.
So this was actually the second step of the three. The first one is prevention. This one was called deterring.
Okay. Let me see if I can go back and grab. Do you want to go do the next one?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. I'll see if I can get it up here on the screen a minute. Just take me a minute. Getting better at it here, Shawn.
Thanks, slow practice.
I think so. All right. Every new thing I add to it, I've got to. Sometimes there's a different process, you know.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go.
Okay, so the criminals, they rely on overgrown bushes and untrimmed trees and fences to hide and observe into and around your property. So keep in mind, as a security consultant, one of the things that I try to teach residents is go outside of your home and just say, like, go down the street or something, and then do a comparison difference between your walking and driving. Okay, so when you're walking and driving up to your house, do you see any potential hiding spots? Right. If so, then maybe it might be a good idea to remove those type of obstacles so they can't just hide behind it, right? So the idea is that you want to be able to see them coming. If you can see them coming and there's no hiding place for them, then your cameras are going to work more effectively by being able to capture them coming down the street, and then obviously, trying to look into your house right from a distance. So you want to make sure that, if you got a tree, trim it up like 12, 15 feet. And then if you got bushes, make sure that, you trim them down as low as you can. At least if the bushes are in front of your house, trim them below your window, so that you can be able to see through the window and down on the other side of the bush. So.
Okay.
So it says, do not place wooden or solid fences in front of your home. Part of the reason is because most of the fences are 8 to 12 feet tall. I've seen some areas, and I want to say in more of a poverty type areas, they'll actually put a fence right in front of their house or behind the backside of their house, like right around the house, right? If you're going to have fences, you want to make sure you place them on the property line or just on the inside of your property line. You want to be able to see on both sides. So anything else, you can put up Wi-Fi cameras to be able to view down the fence line and be able to see on both sides of the fence. So this way it gives you, you have a natural barrier there to prevent them from trying to come in. But the important thing is to make sure you can be able to see on both sides. So these cameras will help as well. So here's the big one. Out of the 100 burglars that I've talked to and people that were actually arrested for home invasions, this is what one of the big things is. A lot of times they don't need to have a crowbar with them, right? A lot of times they'll pick up the clutter from your yard and they'll use whatever heavy or whatever clutter they can find, right? And they use it to break into your home. So keep your yard free from clutter. Criminals see valuables, especially valuables laying around unsupervised. They'll run up and grab it immediately, okay? Also, criminals will use any kind of solid object to break into your home. So if you have a garage, I've seen a lot of guys do this. I don't know why they do this, but they have garages and they have the door open. And they've got this, brand new Harley sitting in there, right? And they might be doing something out in the driveway, and then they go back in the house, and they're in the house for 30 minutes, maybe taking a break because of the heat or whatever. And the bad guys will come by, and they'll see the garage open. They'll see, oh, he's got a new Harley in there, right? It doesn't mean that they're going to try to steal a Harley then, but what it does is your house is now marked. There is a mental mark on your house. So they're going to be watching and saying, okay, when do you go to work? When do you come home? People oftentimes have sort of a repetitious, repetitious life, right? So when you are gone to work, that's when they're going to wait about an hour, maybe two, and then they'll come over and they'll break into your house and they'll steal your Harley, the hot wire, or whatever, and your Harley's gone. So again, it goes back to the principle is out of sight and out of mind. So again, this talks about windows. I know, like my wife, she loves the idea of having windows open and the light coming through. They do have different types of tints, or like they're kind of like a hazy, obscure looking type of material. And you can put that right over on your window. So you have to use like a squeegee and it goes on there. Here's the cool thing about it. The BDX also provides protection too. So if somebody is trying to break through your window, let's say they're using a hammer or something, the BDX is actually going to keep your window intact, even though the glass is broken, but it'll keep your windows intact. It's the same type of material that they use in the windshields of your cars. So you can put that on your window. You can still see, you can get the clear one if you want, and you can still see completely through. But the minute they try to smash that window, it's going to keep that window pretty well intact. It takes a lot of effort for them to break through and dig through it just to try to get in. But once they stick their arm in, just keep in mind, they're going to, it's almost like sticking your hand in a blender, because you've got all those broken pieces of the glass that are still intact. They're going to cut themselves up. So, this is, again, make sure you got your cameras up. You can get motion sensor lights as well. That's a really big one. You can use the big floodlights. This is what we used to do. We put floodlights on ours. So it would literally light up the entire area. So if a raccoon was walking by, we could actually see a raccoon coming, trying to get into our garbage can. But they have different standard recordings. Some have options with like flashcard storage. There's depending on what type of a camera you have. Now I have a DVR system, which essentially I can record up to 2 years worth of of closed circuit television recordings, right? It records 24/7, but it'll tell me, okay, if there's some kind of motion, there'll be like a little red square that will pop up, and I'll click on it, and I can go back to that previous recording and I can watch and see, okay, somebody was trespassing through the yard, just trying to get from one street to the next street or whatever. But same thing with like cars driving by. I can, change the settings on it, how sensitive I want it, how far out. So same thing with Wi-Fi cameras. So here's a good idea. If you know somebody in your family that's a carpenter, or if you just have somebody come over that does carpentry work, have them check your windows and check to see if the locks work properly. Again, you can add a window bar or like I said, a piece of wooden dowel you can stick in your window to keep it from opening. You can also add an alarm sensor to your windows as well. So magnetic sensors. I recommend the 3M products. They're the best in the market. So when it comes to those magnetic sensors, don't go cheap on them, because the cheap ones will keep tripping and it's pretty annoying. So Simply switch on. You can switch them on before you leave on your windows, and same thing with your doors too. And what this will do is it'll act as a really good deterrent from anybody that wants to break into your home. So. Okay, so again, replace when you're moving into your new home. Very first thing you should do is replace your door handles with the locks on it and your deadbolts. Okay, previous owner will still oftentimes people will have a key, and because they lived there for however many years. Same thing with rental properties too. Make sure you switch them out, because in the past we've seen reports, many reports of former homeowners or former tenants would use their old keys to gain entry into somebody's house to steal their stuff. So so that's the very first thing you should have with you is a brand new kit. So as soon as you get to the house, before you start moving anything in, make sure you have that changed. And then again, 3-inch. I use like a decking screw because they're the way the threading is. Screw that into your strike plate and your hinges, and add magnetic alarms to your doors and windows. Now the linebacker security door, you can find that on Amazon. I believe they go for about $150. This is the one product I recommend to not only every home, but I've actually recommended it to government buildings, whether state or federal, just because, same thing with schools as well. The reason being is because if there's like an active shooter situation, you can barricade that door very quickly. It's easy to operate. Even an 8-year-old can operate it, and an 80-year-old woman can operate it. That's how easy it is. It definitely prevents anybody from coming through. So. So this one says install a proactive security cameras that covers all 4 sides of your home. So you want to make sure you don't have any blind spots. It's up high where they cannot reach it, and just kind of pointing down at an angle. You're going to cover a quite large area. There are cameras that you can get that actually you can move the camera head up and down, side to side, but you want to make sure you get all 4 sides covered, right? And if your house is kind of like my old house was, it had like 7 or 8 different corners. So you want to make sure you have those areas covered. The higher the cameras you can get put up to looking kind of down and out, the better. This way they can't reach them. If they try to use spray paint the lens, or they try to break it or whatever. The idea is to make it really hard for them to get access to your cameras. But at the same time, your cameras, you got to pick them up long before they even attempt to try to, get a hold of your cameras. So, and same thing with the fence, your fence. If you have, a lot of people have these wooden 4x4 posts, I would recommend just take that one post out and at the beginning and just put in like a 20-foot post in and install your camera on top of it. They have ones now with the, what do you want to call it? Solar panels that constantly recharge the camera batteries for you. Those I highly recommend. You can put them up on top, have them face down your fence line. The bad guys, they're going to be looking around. They see that. It's kind of like it's a big game changer, right? So it's going to prevent them from trying to take interest in what's going on your side of the fence line. So
they just want a real easy target, don't they?
Yeah. So this is pretty self-explanatory. Keep your garage door closed at all times when you're not in the garage or around the garage. Criminals, they desire what they see. So if you don't have, money to buy cameras, you can get another alternative is install floodlights on all four sides of your home and your garage with motion sensors. They're pretty cheap. You can go to Menards or Home Depot or Lowe's, and you can pick them up for $30 or maybe less, and you can get the floodlights to put into them. Make sure you talk to your neighbors first. If you live really close to your neighbor, talk to them first about it. Say, hey, I want to, let you know we can put an added security for both of our houses. I want to put up this motion sensor light. It's going to have floodlights on it. So if somebody is trespassing or coming through or, snooping around, the lights are going to go off and you will know that somebody's out there, just like I will know somebody's out there. So it's really kind of meant to deter that person from taking any interest in your home. So, but talk to your neighbor about it first. And so just a quick recap, keep your yard tidy, remove solid objects. So if you have landscaping blocks, go down to the store and get the caulking. It's like a glue, and you're going to want to glue down your landscaping blocks, for example. If there's anything else it's not cemented into the ground or bolted down, I would recommend that you try to put some, somewhere where they don't have access to them anyway, because they can use it to get in your house, and that's not a good thing. So inspect your windows and doors and locks. You can have somebody come and actively, take a look at it and help you with that. Then look into getting security cameras, with floodlights if you can, or one or the other. And then if you have a fence, and want to make sure that, you can put floodlights in the around your fencing areas or your security cameras, that's going to make a huge difference. So that prevents the burglars or bad guys, from taking any active interest. Once they figure out that you got motion lights, they're not going to want to stick around. So. So this is a big thing that people don't understand. When you have a burglar that is taking an active interest in your home, you can do this yourself just by being on the outside of your home, approaching your house. If you cannot be seen or you cannot be heard, and you can get as really close as to your house as possible, then your house is potentially a big target for any type of burglary. So criminals are actually using methods to communicate with each other by marking buildings, sidewalks with symbols, or using landscape waste to either encourage or warn other potential burglars. So if you see anything out of place, you can just simply remove it. Like, here's a good example. So if you have a chain link fence and you see a plastic bag hanging from your chain link fence, remove it. When I first moved into my house, I kind of broke my cardinal rule, but we bought a new TV, so a Roku TV, and I took the box, instead of cutting the box up into small pieces and, maybe burning them into the fireplace, what we did was we set the whole box outside right next to the garbage can. Well, the next day we came home from work and there was a plastic bag hanging from our front door. Now, what I did, most people would just grab the plastic bag and just throw it away. Instead, what we did was we called the police. We had the police officers come. The reason being is because it's not a lot of bad guys are actually targeting a lot of homes where there's women, like especially single women. And what they do, or they've been doing, is a tactic where they place fentanyl inside of these plastic bags. So when you grab the plastic bag and you go to look inside, what's the first thing you're doing? You're inhaling, right? And a lot of times you don't realize there could be small amounts or traces of it on the outside of the bag as well. We've seen numerous amount of police officers that have been on the scene outside of a car where they've seen like a folded up $100 bill stuck in the door. And there's actually traces of fentanyl on it, where they did not put gloves on. They grabbed it and ended up getting fentanyl into the system. And so as a homeowner, we don't have rubber gloves on us all the time. So if you see something like this, then you want to call the police, let them handle it. Just say, hey, I don't know, there's like fentanyl on it or drugs on it or something dangerous. And they're happy to go and take care of it for you. But I broke my cardinal rule was I left that cardboard box sitting outside next to the garbage can. What I should have done was just cut it all up like I normally do and then just throw it in the fireplace. This way, people don't know that I bought, a $200 TV, right? So that was kind of my cardinal rule that I broke. But and then to kind of also explain this too. So most burglars, they work in teams. They're going to have what they call the scout. The scout's job is to go and look for potential homes to rob. And what they're going to do is they're going to use your natural landscaping. It could be rocks. It could be sticks. It could be a plastic bag. And they'll use it to mark your house. So if you see it, just go ahead and remove it. And so here's a good example right here. They use a piece of chalk and they mark an X on the outside of the house. That X actually means that the house is marked for target. So the burglar knows, okay, this is a place where we can easily rob. Most burglaries take place between the hours of 9 a.m. and 3:30 in the afternoon. We've been told
nobody's home, right?
Yeah, that's just when nobody's home because, people are working, nobody's home. And compared to the popular mainstream belief in movies that we've seen where, oh, yeah, a burglar come at nighttime, like the Hamburglar from McDonald's, he's wearing a dark mask and with his little Google eyes and he coming at nighttime and stealing the burgers. The truth is they come through the daytime when you're not at home. Here's another good indication. You see, this when they had marked that wall there, that actually tells you the house has been robbed 4 times.
Oh my goodness!
And when once your house has been robbed once, my suggestion is you start searching around your house, outside of your house, or anywhere on the immediate side of your house, and see if there's any kind of marking. If you do see it, get rid of it. Because what this does is it actually allows it to tell other burglars, even novice burglars know this, that your house has been robbed, right? And so there may be some more stuff in there that might be slim pickings, but at least it's something. And so they're going to keep hitting this house. And so this is kind of how they communicate with each other. But when you take these markings away, you take away that communication between each other, between the burglars. So this is unfortunately one of my clients. They had been robbed 4 times before they finally called me. And then the funny thing is, that particular client was a law enforcement officer.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, his wife is a school teacher. Yeah, they're both gone during the daytime, and the house has been hit 4 times. And I took this picture, and I showed them. I brought them out. I said, "Your house has been hit 4 times, right?" And they said, "Yep." Okay, so for every time you see this mark, that's how many times your house has been hit. So this is still broadcasting to any potential burglar that your house has been hit. However, that doesn't mean that you don't have anything in there that's worth any valuables. But this is still broadcasting, right? So you're still telling, hey, come and hit this house, right? So I said, get rid of these markings, and this is how you're going to focus on prevention. So here's another good one. This was another client that I had. They don't have white walks at all. This is actually in the front of their house where the sidewalk is. There's 3 rocks sitting there. And this actually is telling this is the scout who had placed these 3 rocks there. And usually if they put 1 rock, that means that house doesn't have any real high tech stuff. It doesn't have anything of real value, but it's enough to go in and smash and grab it and just take it and pawn it off for a few bucks, right? Now, if you got 3 rocks sitting there, that means you've got probably thousands, if not millions of dollars worth of goods inside that house. So this is what we call HVT, hard value target, or there's like 3 rocks like this, right? So this is a scout broadcasting to the burglar how to identify the house, because it stands out, but yet it's it's a landscaping rock, right? And most people would just kind of overlook this. Most homeowners would, or residents. They wouldn't think nothing about it. Oh, that's kind of cute, oh, that's kind of pretty, but it stands out because it doesn't fit in with this other landscaping rocks here. So when you see something like this, just go ahead and remove it. If anything, throw it away. But just keep in mind, be careful, because there's a lot of bad people out there that are actually putting fentanyl on rocks, on plastic bags, or if you see anything like this, you're not absolutely sure if it's safe or not, please call your local police department, have them come out, let them deal with it. It's better to do it that way than to risk your life. So now you're ready to begin taking the criminal's desires away from him or her when they come around your home or your business.
There you go. This is quite a good little education here, to be proactive. Like you said, it quite often takes the police. They're not going to be there to protect you. They're going to be there in the cleanup.
Yep, they're the response unit. That's what I call it, response unit. And I've worked with a lot of police officers over the years, and they kind of nodded their head in agreement. They're like, yeah, we never get there when the bad guys are there. Man, we've been lured into a false sense of security over the years, especially. when it comes to, like, security cameras, for example. So, oh, you can put the security camera up, and it has all these really cool features and stuff. But I have seen criminals actually finding better ways to get around that, where they're dressed in nothing but complete black. You can't even see the white of their eyes. And they're still breaking into people's homes. Okay. The cameras are only there to record. You can use the sirens. You can use your voice through those cameras. They're great deterrent. But if all else fails, and say you are sitting at home and these people are breaking into your house, and the cameras are not working in your favor for deterrence, this is where we need to get into the mindset of defense. And this is where we modeled a lot of our defense strategies modeled from the Mossad military. And Mossad military, they teach their people about home defense. This has been going on for thousands of years, just because of the constant conflicts they have with a lot of the other Arab nations. And so we decided we were going to put together a training video, and I might, we don't really have to stop the video from here. We can stop it in between, but the idea with the training video, and when I posted it on to TikTok, they took the sound away. Why? Because it's so realistic. It's so frightening in a sense. But we'll go through the steps, and we'll show you exactly how to set up the best defense system for you and your family. So this way, down the road, when you guys have to, it's kind of like having a fire drill or a tornado drill in your home. My family and I, we have home invader drills too. Because of the neighborhood that we lived in was pretty predominant with a lot of not only burglaries, but because I was a political target for many years because of Hillary Clinton. But I've had people come to my house to try to kill me and my wife several times. And so we had home invader drills. And so you could have the most badass military guy try to come and kill me, but I guarantee you, at the end of the day, he's going to be the corpse.
That's going to end well.
Yeah, it's not going to end well for him. So, I've had a lot of death threats from supposed to be would-be assassins, and so we have a defense system that's put into place, and the next training video I have is going to show people exactly how to do this, how to buy time, how to buy the distance between you and the bad guy, and how to put you in a more favorable position that's going to save you and your life. And at the same time, the system is set up so you are going to trap the bad guy into your home, giving him a false sense of confidence. So when he doesn't realize he walked into a trap, it allows the cops enough time to get to your home and to be able to go in and do a security sweep, and they will take the bad guy down, whether by force, by gun, or whether he voluntarily surrenders. But the point is that you're going to have that barrier between you and that bad guy the entire time. We'll show you how to do this. But in this particular video, it shows you that I'm actually gone. I'm actually in Chicago, right? And I have a Wi-Fi camera, and I have an app on my phone that tells me, hey, there's a bad guy in my house, right? My wife is home all by herself with our daughter. And this is the drill that, we have practiced so much. And oftentimes, I usually say if there's somebody coming to the house or whatever I don't recognize, I will yell out fire 3 times. My wife and daughter knows what that means, and they will go to the safe room. And that safe room is designed to prevent them from coming in, but you also have a secondary exit that you can be able to get out if you need to. Well, I'm kind of leaving the bad guy to think that you're still there. But it allows you to be able to escape if you need to, get to another safe location. So,
well, this is interesting. Now you have more videos, don't you? Do you want to come back on and show the other ones too?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, let's do that. I think this is really interesting. It gives us all something new to think about and to be prepared. And I really do think, there's a lot that we can see out there. And are you concerned about potentially having an attack on American soil?
I am. Here's the thing.
Everybody I know who's military is saying the same thing.
Yeah. Well, take a look at this. They weakened our military. Biden has weakened our military. You know, if you go back in history and take a look at how civilizations actually collapsed, you know what they used? The primary weapon they used? It was the LGBTQIA plus however many thousand different genders. The ideology that they weaponized, and they put that into our military. Our military is, think of it this way. So, in back in the ancient days of Greece, there was 3 societies, and they never mixed, right? So you have the Spartans, and they were born and bred to be warriors, and their job was to protect the whole of Greece. And then you had the middle class. These were the people who produced these different things, like, clay pots, tools that people need. They garden, they grow the food, and they make the wine and all that stuff. And then you had the Senate, and the Senate was the politicians, but they were also known as the boy lovers. Okay. And then at one time down the road, eventually the Senate decided, okay, we're going to pass some egregious laws. And they started introducing their lifestyle into the other 2 classes, and especially the military. And it demoralized the military so badly that when an actual attack came, they got completely demolished, because you can't, you have to have a set of standard rules of a mindset. If you're in the military, you're trained to kill, you're trained to protect. You're trained to detect. You're trained to be subversive to the enemy, right? But if you're more focused on how you dress, what color your nails are painted, or trying to be another gender, and using the Navy ship as a runway, then what's the point of having the military, right? It just completely demoralizes it. And so we've had 30 million illegal aliens literally ushered into the United States with taxpayer dollars through you said, right, to the NGOs. The NGOs are complicit, and they should not only be banned from the United States completely and wholly, but they should be criminally charged with treason, as a corporation and the people that are involved in that corporations, because they ushered in 30 million illegals, and a lot of them were from the prison systems, and they came here, they started, taking over, like the big cities of Chicago, New York, Denver, Los Angeles. We have all these big cities that have been completely swamped with them. People have lost their lives.
I have a question on this, though. To your point here, it's the NGOs that have been involved in this. How can it be an NGO? This is like saying a nonprofit, right? They're absolutely for profit. They just don't show it on the balance sheets. They just pay each other and they siphon the money off of it, but they're certainly for profit. And the NGOs are being supported by the government. So how can it possibly be an NGO? They're going through all of the PACs and the different ways that they fund these things. They're absolutely funded with our taxpayer dollars to, to be the backbone of this color revolution we have going on right now. So they're not NGOs any more than a nonprofit is nonprofit. And I think this is part of the, the terminology that's really messed with people, like democracy. Strike that one, just strike democracy, a bad word to use. There's a point to democratic process, but we're not a democracy. And so they change the meanings and such and lead us astray. So NGO is a governmental organization.
Right. And if you think about this too, not only they're a governmental organization, but they've actually violated the cardinal constitutional laws.
Absolutely.
So that makes them a foreign entity and actually a domestic terror organization, right?
That's what I've been saying about the political parties that have taken the dark money. At this point in time, both the Republican Party as well as the Democrat Party, or any of these parties that have taken the big dollars, they're all both a threat, domestic and foreign at the same time. It's not just the NGOs. We could go right down the list, and let's get a bunch of pens and nullify them, and then charge them with the crimes that they've committed, because they have been actively subverting the United States of America.
Yeah,
You can't pick and choose.
No.
You can't have it both ways out there, everybody. It's either one way or the other. You can't say, well, it's a good organization. I'm a part of the Republican Party. I'm part of the Democrat Party. You've taken money. You've taken foreign money to change the elections. I don't know what a bigger threat to the nation we could have.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's kind of like saying to we the people, basically, fuck you guys. You don't have a voice. You don't have a choice. We the NGOs, we the politicians, we the parties, we decide what the outcome is going to be. It doesn't matter. I mean, you can go. That's just why a lot of Americans that I've talked to, they said, "What's the point of voting?" Because they've already determined the outcome. They already know who's going to be elected, and they're going to have these crazy policies. They're going to you got one side that's got this horrible policy, this color revolution, and then you got Trump coming in. Oh, he's doing this, he's doing that, and it's just. It's like the way they explained it to me. There is a bipolar event going on. And so how do we prevent these people from ever just deciding the outcome of this election? Well, take a look at where the funding's coming from. Look at that money train, right? Look at the supply train. If we can hold these NGOs and anybody else, any organization, accountable to the laws that we already have on the books, well, these NGOs can be charged with not only treason, they can be charged with falsifying federal records, saying that they're for a non-profit organization when they are for profit and they're more of a governmental agency. We can charge them with falsifying tax records. I mean, there's so many things that they have broken that I believe that Pam Bondi should seriously take a hard look and say, okay, well, the American people are sick and tired of the NGOs who have been primarily the middleman of this great Ponzi scheme, right? You take away that middleman out completely. So you got folks like George Soros, who's across the ocean, can no longer influence by money. You can't send money to these protesters anymore to go and burn Elon Musk's, Tesla factories or car dealerships.
I don't think we should be giving foreign aid to other countries right now, because our country, when you're broke, that it's like when you have any debt, which we do have a lot of debt, we have a tremendous amount. It's more than the national debt because we have unsecured liabilities and such. So you start going through all of this nonsense. Why are we giving money to any of these nations, other than the fact that they probably got dual citizenship within our government to siphon the money off for their own interests, or it goes to the economic cartel, which is a globalist crime syndicate. And really, I do believe that what we have right now, I don't think that the Dutch East India Trading Company ever really went away, because they're using the same mechanism that they had back in the piracy days. It's the same thing. Why do we have all this stuff going on in the Caribbean? Well, because it's the same kind of method. It never really went away.
It's just generational handoff, and the knowledge and the things that come with it. The 2-3 generations down the road, they get this information. They say, oh, by the way, it's a 100-year cycle, and you're at the end of the 100-year cycle, and this is how you do this, and this is how you network, right? That's a key component, is understanding how do they network, and by which means and mechanisms they use to bring down a civilization, and then use that wealth to manipulate the new civilization that's coming into play and build the civilization that they want again. And they
And
just
it's
kind
still
of,
in charge.
yeah, it's a rinse and repeat. Has been going on for thousands of years.
I think it can be solved, but it's going to have to be solved by complete removal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really realistically, if we look at all of these mechanisms and groups and stuff that we have allowed to be built up within our republic,
Mm-hmm.
the problem is that if we don't just absolutely level their ability to steal from the American people, it's going to come back again, and it's going to be worse, because every time we don't address it, they get emboldened, and then they just say, I'm just going to do what I want to do, and there's nothing you're going to do anyway. Well,
Yeah.
I think it's coming to the end of this, quite honestly. I really do.
Well, the big thing is the big key strategy they've had for so long was hiding that dark money, right? And where are they getting this dark money from? That's taxpayer dollars, right? So how do they? Yeah, and the bad guys, I like to call it the gangsters, right? They protect each other. They've got this big boys club. I like to call it the big boys club. If you're not in the club, you're not in it. You're not going to have access to this Illuminati wealth, or whatever you want to call it. But the thing is that when Trump came in,
he changed everything.
It changed everything, and the very key to it was Doge. So the Department of Government Efficiency job is to expose exactly all of the receipts, where this money came from, where it went, who benefited from it, and then Trump's job is to shut it down. So people get this confused, like, oh, Elon is getting into your Social Security numbers. No, he's actually looking at the receipts where all the stuff went, and then he gives it to Trump, and Trump is the one that shuts it down. I don't think Elon even cares about having any interest in our Social Security numbers. But then again,
yeah, why would he care? He's got enough money to buy, it's like he's not going to be looking at peons' tax returns and Social Security. So he is not going to be interested in that. That is a low value target. There's so many other,
And to think about this, okay, so a lot of these NGOs, they own a lot of parent companies, right? And a lot of people don't realize is that
how layered.
You guys have been going on these apps. I don't care if it's PayPal, if it's whatever it is. Okay, anytime they ask you for your banking information, your address, your phone number, guess what? The NGOs have access to literally your entire life. Okay, and we're worried about the federal government having access to all of our shit. Or
they already have it. What is wrong with you? They already, not you, but what is wrong with people? They already have all of this. They got files on each one of us,
It's and it's endless. They also have I'll give you a good example. So BlackRock is a BlackRock company. Okay, so back in 1990, they'd actually spent 10 years at that time working with Apple. And they actually came up with the very first artificial intelligence system, and that came out in 1990. They tried to bury that information as much as they can. But as a computer system, it's called Aladdin. Okay, now Aladdin is what's driving BlackRock to make their wealth. Okay, so they literally not only had a cheat code, but this is how companies like this, NGO companies like this, have been literally handed a golden staff to take down countries. Okay. My opinion is this: BlackRock is a domestic terror organization.
Absolutely.
They say, oh, all we do is we handle other companies' monies. We make sure that they're making a profit. Sure, that's a nice cover story, and that's one way you build your wealth. But in the reality is I'm sorry, but human beings make human errors. And I've never seen a company in my life that has had almost a perfect record when it comes to stock trading and all that information. How did they get this information ahead of time that they knew in 2008 there was going to be a housing marketing crisis? Oh, wait, it's because the AI, Aladdin, was instructing BlackRock on how to go about setting up with the bank systems to create a false lending system that would in turn cause a collapse, which they could turn around and buy up all the property for 3 times the value to drive up the pricing of the house market. So when folks like you and I, we would, we spent our 40 years working just trying to be able to buy a house, and most people can't because it's 180 to $250,000 just for a small simple house, when in reality the most basic value for a ranch style home at 1,200 feet should be no more than 30,000. And that's the problem is that BlackRock has been running this entire world through the financial chain markets. They control the chain markets. They control literally everything. They control the conflicts. They control how things are done. They know how to manipulate the market. They know how to manipulate people. And they know that a lot of politicians are greedy.
It's crazy. They study people and they know what weaknesses are.
Yeah.
And they'll try to exploit all those weaknesses no matter what it is. If you have a weakness, they're going to already know what it is. And they'll send somebody that one of the funniest conversations I had was somebody that was offering me, they were constantly offering me stuff, which I was just like, no, I'm not interested in this at all. And the guy got mad. He's like, what do you want? What do you want? And I'm like, nothing. He's like, he couldn't even get his arms around it. And so he kept going, trying to dig deeper to see I'm like, look, dude, I am really pretty self-sufficient. I'm happy shoveling horse manure. I mean, the bar's pretty low, It's like simple life is pretty, the less complex, the better and happier I am. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like, they get angry, but this is what they're looking for. They're looking for weaknesses so they can manipulate people.
Yeah.
If you are content in all things, which the Bible talks about being content in all things, they got nothing over you. And if you work for God, then what you treasure in life is just doing God's work in service, whatever that may be. And the outcome is his, and the treasure is his, and the glory is his. And the rest of it is that you're just having kind of a good time serving him and taking care of business, being an action adult,
Yeah, and then the Bible also talks about how if our treasures are in heaven, they cannot be spoiled by water, by mud, by wind, by moth, by anything that's here on earth. A lot of people they tend to place their, I don't know, this is just an example, but let's say I value this mug over everything else, right? Well, what happens with this mug in reality is this chance that I could drop this, it's going to break, right? And I could spend, $20 to super glue and it's still never going to be the same. But the point is this, all things in this world will come and pass. It will, it will no longer be. So in heaven, everything is I should say behind the walls of heaven, everything is, uncorruptible. It cannot be destroyed. So that's why I take a lot of joy in trying to do the work for the Lord and work with other people like you and like-minded people, and then let's get the truth out about things. And
whatever we have here, we're just on temporary assignment. This is all that we're here for. And I've got a question to ask everybody. No matter what you look around you, what is the most fragile thing that you can see around you or that's around you? It's the human heart. Human beings are very fragile. And we have to remember that with dealing with others sometimes. I mean, there's a difference between actual bad guys and people just fumbling around being human beings. There's a huge difference. The people that we hang out with aren't in that psychopath category by and large. Those are the ones that see us as just worthless feeders that they want to, you would own nothing and be happy. Those kind of guys, That's like, that because they want everything and you are just in their way. Wow. You couldn't even make up a better bad guy than Klaus Schwab and his little monkey Yuval Harari. That guy's like a little dancing monkey next to this guy. So you've got the bad guy and then you got the monkey Harari next to him. Stuff up, right?
I mean, if they're gonna villain it up, why don't they villain it up like what's that guy's name in Austin Powers movie, that the Dr. Evil, right? He's
Yeah, get the
bald.
cat.
He's got that
Get
evil
the cat.
cat, right?
Yeah, get the cat. Let's
I
do it
mean,
right, guys. You know, give
yeah.
if anybody's out there listening and can get a cat to Klaus Schwab for him to pet. That's what we need. Let's make it a complete thing, right?
Yeah, at least entertain us, right?
That's right. Well, it's kind of entertaining. It really is. Although albeit a little bit maddening through it. But you know, even those things that are in the at the surface there, they're kind of, I feel like they're keeping everybody really busy with just headlines. But the real guys that are doing the real work behind the scenes, you're not seeing them. You have no idea exactly what's going on, and they're not talking. They're not going to say a thing. They're not going to broadcast exactly what they're saying. So we might as well just focus on God, on the people around us, and making the world a better place instead of actually like worshiping knowledge. Knowledge isn't bad, but the worship of knowledge to make you feel like you've got control of everything around you in a chaotic world. The world's chaotic. You're not in charge. It's just the way it is. And be okay with it and realize that God's in control. He's calling the shots right now. It's going to be okay because he's good all the time. So we need to focus on the things we can do something about. If you're a little bit of a badass, which I like to have, that I would say that I probably fit that category. So get out there and start suing these people. You know, do something that you can actually move forward with and do something, right? But just going and showing up for coffee and cookies ain't cutting it. Just not cutting it anymore at all. So, but in the rest, just relax. It's going to be okay.
Just remember, when it comes to acceptance on some things, it's better to be okay with what is, and understand that God sometimes has a grand plan for us. We may not be, most of the time we can't see it because we're so short-sighted, right?
We'd screw it up if we saw it.
Beings,
if we saw God's plan and he gave us like too much advance notice on it, we would think we're smarter than him and screw up the plan.
Oh yeah. No, just like Satan did.
Sure. Same. Well, we do have a fallen nature. So, I mean, that's the only way we get through this is having a savior, Jesus Christ, our savior. That's the only way we get through this, because we're like a bunch of little kids and we're making mistakes. We get up every day. We make mistakes. We don't always do the right thing. God forgives us, sets us back on our feet. Okay, try again. Let's see if you can get it right this time. And then we do something stupid again. And he's like, okay, let's try this again. Sets us back on our feet, gives us the lesson, and does this over and over and over again. I would never want God's job.
No.
I'm going to tell you that right now.
Oh, I would fail day one for sure.
I would fail second one. Yeah, pretty extra sure. But you know, it can guide us and lead us, which is a good thing. That's our only hope, really, is know our place, a little bit of humility. But you know, it's good to gain knowledge, because knowledge is certainly helpful, and it is power in this realm over bad things. We can make plans. We can learn how to avoid the real bad guys as being just kind of like little kids, blundering around and such. But and to everybody else out there that is buying into it, like this fake stream media crap and the alt media that's been paid off by USAID and all of the nonprofits, the NGOs, y'all gonna have to make a choice, because you're all part of it and you're part of the problem. And guess what? We're getting smarter at seeing that you are, in fact, the problem and part of the problem as a whole. And it's not going to continue on forever. It just isn't. So there's choices people are going to have to make. If you're going to try to keep your job in a corrupt system, guess what? You're part of the corrupt system.
And that's the thing is, I worked in the military contracting world as, various different positions, but the last, 6 years working as an armed security officer, and I could see the corruption from within. We would have what they call standard operating procedures when conducting our jobs. And there would be times that we would have officers breaking those procedures, and we know that they're actually breaking the law, and we bring it up to supervisors and say, hey, we've got an issue. We've got some, stuff missing, or we have bad conduct on the job, or this or that. And what would happen is that these bad officers are part of the corrupt system to begin with. And then the supervisors say, oh, well, we're just overlook it. No big deal. But the minute I'm 1 second late to getting into work, I get a phone call and they say, oh, by the way, you need to make a 4-hour trip to Chicago because we need to write you up a disciplinary report because you were late for work. Okay, well, and so, when I kind of aged out of the system because they were they lost a lot of their contracts because of the COVID situation, but they aged me out. They pushed me out of the system, out of the job. I felt like my whole identity was wrapped around that career job, and then I had to take a hard step back, and I had to go to God, and I had to say, okay, I know that you have a purpose and a plan for my life. And it's not always just one thing. It could be multiple things at different times. So I know you close this door and I'm in the hallway. Is this where I need to be? You need to prepare me for the next journey, for the next door that you open. And I wait on him, and I, constantly in prayer. I'm constantly still trying to move forward by learning as many different things as I possibly different skill sets. So when the time comes that shit hits the fan, guys, listen, nobody is going to come and save you. Okay. You have to learn to be saving yourself physically, but understand spiritually, Jesus Christ is the only one that can save you. So by having a relationship with Christ, he's also given me wisdom as to what to learn next, what to study next. At times I see people that are in need of help, and I would right away go to the Lord and say, Lord, am I supposed to help this person? Now,
sometimes the answer is no.
Yeah, sometimes it's no. He'll say, no, this is a trap. I've got my angels put in place. This is a trap. They're there to rob you or whatever. Or sometimes you don't know. And maybe sometimes he blinds the side of your eye so you don't see, these traps, right? So you're not like this mule, this horse that's just kind of like wandering all over the place. Sometimes he put blinders on the side of a horse's face, and that is because he wants you to focus on what's ahead of you, not with all these distractions that are going on. And we see this today and this world, is there are so many different distractions going on. Now, some of the distractions, yeah, they were created by the left, right? Okay. They're created by the bad guys. Obviously, there's a lot of noise because they're trying to reach the young generations who brain is not fully developed yet to get into a lot of these protests. But then you have other noise that's on the right, and it's more or less, okay, we're doing this and this and this and this, right? But we can't reveal our plan to everybody, because if we do, guess what happens? We already know that if Mr. Starry here and Mrs. Brandenburg, if we reveal our strategy to them, and if they happen to slip up and say something on social media, well, now we can't fight the bad guys. Now we gotta, we've got to do crisis control. So we're gonna put some of this other stuff, concerning stuff, and we should be concerned about it because this is a spiritual and a moral and a physical issue. And we would like you guys to talk about these things. But while you're doing these things and trying to win over the hearts and minds of people with the truth, we're going to continue to work on what we need to get done so we can secure America for everybody.
I love that. I love that. Well, this is actually a good place to stop because I've got another meeting to go to here. So let's say a prayer and then we're going to end our day. If you want to come back, I think tomorrow, if you want to come back tomorrow, we can get back on this because I know you have a few other videos there. That's okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for Shawn and for John and all the wonderful people that are willing to come out and put themselves out there to help teach and educate everyone, as well as to protect and defend each other. I'm so thankful for this day ahead of us and that you've given us the ability to be calm and peaceful and full of joy, even in the midst of a storm. And I think we're going to have more of a storm, and that's okay because we know you're there. You're both our rock and our shield, and we're thankful for that. Thank you so much for everything you've done for us. We ask that anyone who's in need out there, who's nervous or whatever, that you would have them take the scale, or that you would take the scales off their eyes and let them see you, and that they would turn to you because you're the answer for all of our problems. You always give us the answers when we need it. We're just thankful for that. We always want to serve you, and everything that we do, it's just an honor and a pleasure to do things that you ask us to do. So just give us the feet by your strength and your discernment to walk the path that you set before us. We love you so very much. You're a great friend to us, and we want to be a friend to you. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. So let's go to that part of the show, boys and girls. And that part of the show is ding, 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 go to BrandenburgForGovernor.com because I'm the best non-conceder who's ever not conceded in the history of the United States of America. And I want to talk to the rightful president of the United States, President Donald J. Trump, about this and cowboy boots. Who wears them better? Guaranteed. It's me. So anyhow, with that said, guys, we'll see you tomorrow. God bless you. God bless all those whom you love, and God bless America. Make it a great day today. Do those things that you can change, and then kind of let go of some of the rest of it, because God will take it. He'll make it right. He can redeem anything and make situations right. Don't feel overwhelmed about it, because you're not fighting alone. You really aren't alone. Even if you feel like you're alone, I think all of us feel alone sometimes. We look at the world and go, what the living heck, right? But we're not alone. And so, just turn towards God, and the walk gets a lot easier. I'll see you tomorrow with Liberty Essentials, Bill Moore, Karen the Riveter, myself, Shawn, and hopefully Ralph will be back. We'll see how he's doing tomorrow, and then we'll go through all things patriotic and fun and economy, and I don't know, it's a mixed bag, whatever we feel like doing. Talk to you tomorrow.
Sounds like fun.